Hey, welcome back to Live Laugh Stuck. I am Jackie, aka Jax, and once again we have Moosey here to
Oh,
continue to talk about
sorry.
Homestuck.
I just
Yeah?
interrupted you by celebrating my own name.
No, celebrate your own name. It is Moosestuck after all. I think this is the first episode we're recording after I decided to call this Moosestuck.
We're stuck in a moose, like Ace Ventura. No.
Jesus Christ. I was thinking like Star Wars, fucking Hoth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Just all sorts of good imagery springs to mind.
yeah. Anyway, so this is also our first one that we're breaking up into multiple parts because
I thought you were breaking up with me.
yes, we're breaking up. I'm breaking up with Moosey. We've been dating for 15 years. No.
All right, I've just had a very weird day today.
Yeah,
Feeling kind of hyper.
no, it's been a week, so I get it. Act 4 is also such a fucking act.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did part 1. We ended the last page we read was 1640.
Hmm.
So, and I think that's pretty good halfway down the middle.
A good stopping point, I think.
Oh, yeah, you'll see. I was actually very proud of myself for where I found this stopping point.
Hmm.
I already can't wait for next week. But anyway, tell me your thoughts about this act. We started out with a game.
Yeah. So I will say also this is the first act I've read since coming back from India. So I've been gone for like a month.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, because like even before that, the last thing you read was intermission.
Right, yeah.
So it's been a while since we've been with these kids.
Yeah. So there was the game. Do you want me to critique it as a game developer?
That is partially why you're here, yes.
Okay. I like to put the good stuff first. I mean, if I feel like if I had been a fan early in the days and then like this would just brand new came out and I read it and then I saw this game, I probably would have been really hyped. But now at the old age of 34, I was like, Ugh, I don't want to play a thing.
Yeah.
I'm too tired for this. But I went ahead and tried to play through it. As far as frustrations go, I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do or where was supposed to go. I did see the map after the fact, and it was so zoomed in, and I didn't see the tiny, tiny magnifying glass to zoom out for a while. And I read the controls, but it didn't mention clicking anybody, and I had forgotten that clicking on things was a thing from the previous ones. So I was wandering around just like fighting imps and not talking to salamanders until I realized, oh yeah, I can click on things and interact with these capsules. So I did try to go through it. It was kind of hard to navigate just because everything looked very samey. There was a map, but
Yeah.
and I remember from when I read the, I think, version just on the official website that it was like just pictures of John putting things in capsules. So I tried putting things in capsules, but I didn't know why I was doing it.
Yeah.
But I played around with it for a little bit, tried to talk to all the salamanders I could find, and then I ended up watching a YouTube video of a playthrough just to make sure I didn't miss anything, which I did not find my way to the end of the maze. So I think I got everything as far as what there was to say there.
Yeah, and then later on in the act, as he like reuses screen caps from this to with commentary to
Yeah.
make sure stuff happens canonically.
Yeah, I think the Carapacians were quote unquote playing the game, and you saw that happening there.
Yeah, yeah. PM, the
Mm-hmm.
Peregrine Mendicant,
Mendicant? Yeah.
one of the Carapacians. It's only recently that I'm remembering it's Carapacians, but it's because they
Okay.
have a carapace. But was talking to John and
Mm-hmm.
directing John around the game. So I had the problem because I have the arrow controls turned on for going back and forth in the story. And
Mm.
I kept accidentally clicking out of the screen and then would press to go forward and would go forward
Mm.
in the story, and I'd go back and have to go through the beginning again. So
Oh
I
yeah.
stopped.
Yeah, or I
um,
died once
oh
from
yeah,
bad fighting technique on my part.
that's fair. Yeah, it's definitely not the best game that exists within Homestuck, but it's here, and I think it's neat that has he experimented with like style stuff, like trying out something. look, you are in a game exploring a planet or a land, I guess.
Yeah, I still definitely admire the sort of multimedia format of the comic, for better and worse.
Yeah, yeah, it does not hit every time, but it's good shit. Just some lore drop, nothing too huge. Right now, you're not supposed to understand any of the bigger
Mhm.
stuff that you learn about in the little game.
Yeah, something about the slumbering one and terrible agents.
Yep, and the salamanders
Mhm.
buying and selling all of John's stuff.
Mhm.
But we do get way more troll talk in
Mhm.
this act.
Yeah, like the
Um,
last, no, it felt like well, I guess it would be a quarter of, but the last half of what we read of the
yeah.
300 pages, about it felt like a lot of pages, was just reading pestered logs.
Yeah, that's Homestuck.
Because at first, when I finished reading last night, I read about 100 pages. I was like, there's so many images, and I don't know what's happening. And I feel like if I had some text, I would understand a little better. And then we go from lots of images and action to lots and lots of text.
Yeah, do you understand it better?
I feel like I understand some things better.
That's good.
Let's see. I'm still taking notes, mostly to try to keep everyone straight. I did notice that everyone called the kids their own thing, like the Night, Seer, and Air. And I don't know if, remember when we talked about can I guess who is who?
Yeah,
Was I right on that?
I can't remember.
Because I thought Jade was the time person, made of time.
Yeah.
And then I would have thought Dave was more of like the Knight of Blood because he's violent. And then
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know. But that might be what I thought.
Uh-huh. Hmm.
I'd have to go back and check.
Yeah, I will have to go back and check. I did forget about that. We should have taken notes on it, written it down.
Yeah, I don't know if I wrote it down at all.
Yeah, so what are some of your notes that you took for this first half of the act?
So I think that it's clear-ish that the Peregrine Mendicant, when we're seeing like the current or future Earth, and they are in the wasteland of like Earth destroyed, but then they also are having flashbacks to the past. So, like, I picked up on Peregrine Mendicant PM is also Parcel Mistress PM.
Mm-hmm.
Aimless Renegade AR is also Authority Regulator AR.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed we have the Windswept Questant, who I am assuming is analogous to the White Queen.
Yep, 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 yep.
Yeah. I still don't have an idea for Jack Noir. I can't think of any other JNs if I've seen any.
That's fair.
So I'm maybe kind of piecing things together a little bit more, but still confused.
Yep. That's about where you should be. So yeah, you got the some of the important stuff with the carapations of who's who.
Yeah, and then John opened the green box. I don't know. I don't remember if we saw what was in it or if this was like still being a secret.
So it was Jack Noir that opened the green box, and no, you do not see.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. So I was mostly just writing like, the exiles are there. They said that they're supposed to rebuild the earth and civilization.
Mm-hmm.
Two kingdoms. They were kicked out of it. I don't know. And then PM, our good friend, went to the queen and was like, "You guys got to get off the throne." Queen is like, "Go take this ring to the king to let him know to give you his crown so you can get that box or whatever."
Yeah, they take postal work very seriously.
Yeah. A lot of discussion with various trolls who I'm not able to keep straight yet.
Yeah, right now, because I had a very hard time, and I still have a hard time keeping their initials
Mhm.
straight. So it's pretty much the color of their text and their typing quirk is how
Yeah.
I keep them apart.
Yeah. So I don't even know how many trolls I was reading dialogues of. I don't know if it's two or three or what. But then just kind of trying to talk to the kids more and trying to help them out and more nonlinear time stuff. And one of them wants John to use a shortcut to fight a thing. And I don't know.
Yeah, fighting the denizen,
Uh,
which is the way. Oh my god, I really need to look up their initialisms since we don't have any of their names yet. The fucking leet speak,
mhm.
leet speak
uh,
troll.
is that Gallows collaborator?
Yes, it's GC. I'm like, it's not CG. CG is shouty, all caps troll.
I don't know how you remember that if there's like 12 of these trolls.
Yeah, I've been rereading it a lot. But, yeah, and then just kinda remember the vibe sometimes, but yeah. So, GC wants John to go basically fight what she describes as basically like a big boss of his land.
While it's asleep.
While it's asleep. Shortcut.
Yeah. I will also mention that I noticed that the Black Queen and the White Queen both look like the Jester sprite, Colonel sprite thing. So I
Mhm.
guess that was what was prototyped and became a thing in the game. So then I'm wondering if everyone, I don't remember who prototyped what before they went to the medium, and if they're going to have their own separate kings and queens or whatever, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, well, they had the Jester stuff, and then they also had the tentacles from, like, Rose's princess.
Oh, okay, that was separate. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe an amalgamation of things.
Yeah, I'm trying to, like, confirm things that you would have already, like, known without, like, necessarily bringing up tiny details you might have missed but will be explained later. But yeah, that is, like, yeah, there were the tentacles and Jester stuff.
So that's where we're at in the story.
Yeah, we just stopped with John shooting off to go do the shortcut thing.
Mm.
So, do you want me to go through the trolls that we've seen so far?
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. So we have the shouty one who is going through his talks with John backwards.
Okay.
CG.
Here, let me write this down.
Yeah.
Eugene talks to John backwards.
Yes. All caps, gray text. We see a glimpse of him and we realize that he is the guy that we saw at the end of intermission before the start of
Is
Act
it
4.
Carcat?
Yeah, it's Carcat. You asked. I'm going to tell you. That's Carcat. So yeah, we get Carcat. And we also get the lead speak blind girl who types in teal, GC. And then we get the God, what's his name? It's AT Adios.
Adios Toreador.
Yeah, that guy.
Did some poetry.
Yeah, tried to do a rap battle at Dave, which was something. Very fun to read aloud, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so that's that, and he talks like I don't know how to describe his quirk, but you know who I'm talking about. And then the last one we see is she types in Jade. She types all like first capital letter of each word. And what is her fucking handle?
Prim Auxiliaries?
Yes, GA. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the ones we've seen so far.
Okay. Cool.
We don't necessarily know what order everyone else is typing it and talking in, except for how Carcat is talking to John and how GA is talking to Rose.
Yeah, I wrote down the number order that they mentioned in there.
Yeah. And then it seems that GC is implying that she's taking things linearly. So yeah, do you have any impressions on them so far, or not so much because it's hard to remember who's who?
They're interesting, and it's interesting to hear them talk as not humans.
Yeah.
In the way that trying to adapt to human talking types of speech.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you humans show affection by insulting each other.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny the alien card and the alien like lingo and stuff that gets used.
And their movie titles of very, very long descriptive titles of movies because they have a rich and storied history of thousands of years of cinema.
Yeah.
But it's interesting so far. I just wish I had a better way to keep track of things, if that makes sense. Or like, I know I can go back to the page. I guess I could screen cap the pages, but just have like almost like my own personal wiki of me keeping notes for what's going on.
Yeah, that's fair. Because there is a lot going on, and there's a lot of lore dump happening. Because we're hearing about how the trolls have their own session that's separate from these guys, and they're somehow able to talk to them in different time periods.
Yeah. And then somebody said that the meteor was going to come regardless, that what the Spurb game just gave a timer. So then my original question was, why does the game trigger the apocalypse? But now it's just like, why is there an apocalypse and why is there a game?
Yeah, that's a good question. Speaking of time skips, we skip from seeing Dave going up to get the egg to him talking to John, and he's already in, like, on his land. He's already in the medium.
John is in the medium or Dave
Sorry,
is?
Dave. Yeah, John's been in the medium.
Right.
But Dave is now talking to John in the medium, and we
Mhm.
don't know what happened in that in between.
Right. Yeah. So I guess will that continue in this Act 4 stuff?
I'm pretty sure that we get, yeah, that in that the answer to that in this act. A lot of Act 4 and Act 5, Act 2 get mixed up for me personally.
Hmm.
But yeah, I know what's about to happen immediately and I'm excited about it. I guess is my thing.
Uh,
Yeah. I know I sent you some stuff.
yeah. And yeah, I did get tired again of watching Dave mess with the machinery and stuff. Just like, come on, I get it. There's machines.
Yeah, I will say that I think that was the last time reader input for what to do next was accepted.
Okay. And you did send me that comment about Hussey like stealing control of the story away from the character and making up commands. What did he mean by making up commands?
The thing is, in this part, there would normally be a lot more reader submission and a lot more fucking around.
Right.
And so this time they're just putting in the commands that they're making as though they are reader submission, right?
I see. Okay.
To keep the thing going.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting just how their approach to the story was like, perhaps, like, they had something in mind. And so those were the constraints of what player submissions would be approved to get some stuff done. Because it sounds like, I mean, like it says in this quote, the device turns out to be a repeated demonstration that the notion readers are exerting their will over the story was always an illusion. So that's interesting. So it's different from like a D&D game per se, where the DM, I mean, somewhat can kind of impulsively like improv react to what the players want to do while still having some stuff they want to get done in the story. I kind of wonder at what point did they have everything planned, or starting off did they just kind of wing it?
Yeah, they had like some general idea of things that they were going to do, like, just the general like house building game. But yeah, winging a lot of it. But like the trolls were not planned at the beginning.
Was the game world of like, and I don't know the names, there's like the medium, and I don't know the place where the exiles were exiled from, and the moons or the planets and all that. Do you think that was part of like the original design for it?
I'm trying to remember if I saw any commentary about this specifically. I think to some extent, some of it was because, I mean, when we get Jade, like conversations with Jade were the way they are because she was awake on Prospect and could see the future in the clouds, right?
I don't remember what Prospect is.
Oh, that's one of the moons.
Right, the like gold thing above them or something, and the
Yeah, so on the Prospition moon. I always call it just Prospect is the moon, but
Mhm.
there's Prospect and then there's the moon, and that's where Jade is on the Prospition moon. Yeah, linked with the chain. Gold the gold moon.
Okay. I still don't know when in the timeline that was.
That well, so like as soon as she starts having conversations with the kids,
Mhm.
she is hinting at things that she knows because of that.
Okay.
So they talk in Act 1, right? Like they talk in Act 1.
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She sent
because
him a
Jade
gift,
sent presents and stuff.
and we've gone back in time a few times to when he sent her a gift.
Yes.
I did see, what did she say? She said something like, John, I don't know any more than what you could know, or something like that.
Yes. Because in the last act, in Act 3, she was trying to tell John to wake up, and in this act,
Mm,
she's also trying to get Rose to wake up, and by wake
right.
up, she means wake up, like, on the moon.
Uh, so then, is this, are they real people when they're current, in their current state, when they're awake as they're this version of themselves, or is that a fake version? Are they both real?
Rose and Jade talk a little bit about that in this section that we read.
Mhm.
I just think you're going to have to watch or read more.
Okay.
Yeah. Not necessarily as a spoilers thing, but just as, like, you're gonna understand this more, like, their dream selves is what they call it, more
Okay.
as you go through it.
Mhm.
But, I mean, it's a good question to keep in mind as you read.
Yeah, I'll note it down. So their awake selves are currently in the medium.
Yes, except for Jade,
Yeah, who has the robot.
who has the robot and gets smacked with it.
Yeah. So currently John and Rose are in the medium from what we've seen, and now Dave is apparently in the medium.
Yep, like, right before where our stuff ended, Dave got into the medium.
So then they'll have dream selves,
Yeah.
and somehow that's related to everything else. This very much feels like a you just have to read it twice. You just have to read the whole thing twice, at least.
Yeah, potentially. I think that it answers enough that you'll, like, figure out everything as you go,
Mhm.
but also reading it twice does help things, in my opinion. But, of course, this is someone who has read it many times, so
Guess we'll see. I'm just kind of interested in seeing how like what is the structure of the world, because I've seen bits and pieces and various planets and this moon place and then the Carapacians place and how what is what which what's connected, how do they work together?
So, I will say, we do actually see what this, what would you call it? I guess section of the universe looks like,
Mhm.
because WV, The Wandering Vagrant,
Mhm.
drew it in chalk in Act 3.
Yeah, those
So,
planets on the wall?
yeah, and we kinda see it, like, at the end of, like, the last page we left off on.
Yeah.
Like, that's John's planet behind him. I don't think we've technically got confirmation that they're separate planets, but yeah, that's
Mhm.
John's planet that he's blasting off from, basically.
Okay. Wait. Do they all have their own planets? The kids?
Yeah, that might be some people might consider that a spoiler, but yeah, basically.
Okay. So their game connects them to they have their planets. And I do remember seeing like a link between a circle go to another circle in a GIF. Very good explanation of
Yeah, no, you're going to be so drowned in the lore of how this stuff works.
Mhm.
It's gonna be spelled out a lot more.
It does make me wish I was reading it when it was new, because I feel like with the pauses, that gives you time to discuss with other people reading it and kind of come up with ideas and stuff. And we're just kind of like drinking from the garden hose at this point. We got all this stuff and none of the timeouts to kind of, besides us doing this, but none of the forum posts to be like, I got back home from school. Let's talk about Homestuck. What's going on? Who's my favorite? And all that.
Yeah, no, I definitely, missed out on being in that, because even whenever I was, like, in the fandom while I was still updating, I wasn't, like, in it. But especially since, like, so much of, like, theory crafting did actually affect the work, like, I don't think this is a spoiler, but one of the trolls we've seen so far is in a wheelchair, but at the point that we've seen this troll, they're not in a wheelchair canonically. Like, Hussey, like, apparently there was theory crafting that the troll was in a wheelchair, and Hussey went, yeah, sure, the troll's in a wheelchair. It's absolutely wild that that was just like a thing not present at this point in the story.
And that could be cool. Like just finding ideas that other people have and say, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that.
Yes. Hussey using theory crafting is both to the benefit and detriment of the fans. Sometimes it's, "Sure, I'll add this on," and some of it's, "This is in the comic because I'm making fun of you specifically."
Aw.
Um, it Homestuck is very antagonistic with its fans, always has been, which is fun to a point.
Mhm. I'm really interested in seeing more of that and just fascinated at how many Homestuck fans there are and how loyal they are despite question mark the antagonism that I hear about.
So much of the antagonism is contextual that you would not notice it if you were not there within the fandom at the time that it was relevant, right?
Okay.
There's some that's going to be pretty evident, and we'll get there, and I'm very excited about that because
Mhm.
maybe it was made to be antagonistic, but it's fantastic and I love it. Also, another game that does way better than the one we just played. So,
Yeah.
but that's not for a
A,
while.
a game that is antagonistic?
The game includes characters that are tropes.
Okay. Like tropes of reader types or something?
Yeah. So, okay. You know what? So in the future, there will be characters that are tropes of reader types. There'll be characters that are tropes of Tumblr user types. It's just, yeah. Yes, is the answer. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I did forget how much better Hussey gets with games.
Yeah.
Or gets people to get with games.
Making games is hard.
I don't know, it just feels like so much of this first half is like, gotta wait and see, but also I can't imagine making you go through the whole fucking thing without a pause to stop and reflect.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good stopping point. It kind of gave a bit of everything in a way. The kids, the trolls, the past Carapacians and the future Carapacians. Something with royalty fighting and just a little bit of information about all of the stuff, I think.
Yeah. Since we did stop in the middle of an act, especially, do you have any predictions on what's gonna happen next?
I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah, that's fair.
John's gonna go through a gate, and I don't know what's gonna be on the other side. I don't know what Dave's medium is gonna look like.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know anything that's gonna happen.
I mean, that's fair. Homestuck is a hard work to predict. Yeah, I did want to mention some character interactions like Dave and Jade, because like Dave almost immediately figures out that Jade is asleep and how much that's going to fuck his shit up and exactly like what he needs to do to wake her up. He is just so down with the mechanics of her sleep. But I think I don't know, I just also think he's a big skeptic about everything.
Mhm.
Like, when John was saying he was fighting monsters, it's like, "Okay, sure, whatever." But compared to how Rose and John act about Jade saying like, "Oh, yeah, I was asleep when I said that." Like, Dave is just like, "Cool, that makes sense. Whatever. Don't want you to be asleep when you're managing my life."
Yeah, I was kind of confused about that because when she said she was asleep when she said something, I don't remember exactly what it was. But does that mean like she doesn't have the same information when she's asleep via robot versus awake?
I think it's generally I don't think it's I'm not sure it's ever explained in text, but I think it's generally like when she's asleep, it's her dream self talking, and her dream self is just less solid, like less focused, like technically has access to the same information, but it's just more flighty and focused on a bunch of other things and not necessarily one you want to like get things done in the real world or to like have real world serious conversations with.
Hmm.
I'm sure other people have much more interesting explanations, um, for why Dream Jade has, like, less information, or is just kinda, like, not as great to get shit done, but I think it's just kind of like the ephemeral state of being a dream self.
Cool. So since Dave knows about Jade's sleeping pattern stuff, like does that mean he has known her maybe longer than the others have?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if they, like, say who knew who the longest.
Mhm.
The way I talked to Dami about this before she went to work, and the way that she kind of thought about it was Dave plays into the bit. Dave will run with any bit,
Mm.
and he takes it like he will go with it hardcore. And perhaps Jade's dream self was a bit or was what he considered a bit that he just ran with,
Mm.
and because he didn't stop to take it as a skeptic, he just innately started understanding more while Rose and John tried to discern some other meaning by what she was saying.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. I am also interested in seeing what Rose wrote on her walls, and I don't remember if we saw any of that before I left for India. I'm assuming everyone writes on their walls, so I want to see what everyone writes on their walls.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, so far we've only saw John's.
Hmm. Okay.
it's definitely interesting, especially, that we find this out with Rose first thing after she was doing a whole psychoanalysis thing of John having it written on his walls without realizing it. And it's like, oh, now you got to turn that on yourself, huh?
Yeah.
But I love that John he easily stops arguing with people to just like go along with the conversation. Like with, I sent CG, oh, well, he's Carcat now, but I sent Carcat going, I'm ending this conversation because I've said it all too many times and because
Yeah.
you can't understand because you are dumb. And then Carcat's like, no, like just because I said you're dumb doesn't mean we're not friends. And John's like, oh, okay. Like,
I'm interested in seeing how those relationships between the kids and the trolls pan out as well. It's just a lot to like keep track of.
there's a lot to keep track of. Like you already have 4 kids and we're slowly introducing with just 4 trolls so far, with one other specifically mentioned, the hacker. But yes, there being 12 in total. It's a lot of characters.
I I will also mention that I had Pester Chum open this time while I was reading it, and I did
Yeah,
get a random pester from apparently a 14-year-old coder. So
nice.
we were apparently at the about the same pages. They were little like 20 pages ahead of me
Nice.
when I stopped. So that was interesting, and it's like I'm on the first read through of Act 4. They're like, "Oh, you're new too?" So I don't know. I am happy to receive any random pesters.
That's extremely fun that like not only you got a random pester, but it was from someone who's basically in the same spot of the story as you for the first time.
And there are quite a few users on Pester Chum. Like you can view the list of everyone online. It's not as big as like certain things, but it's quite a few people.
Oh yeah, just gonna go through and see how many cannons there are.
I just want to make all my friends download Pester Chum and just use this since no one uses AIM. AIM is dead.
Yeah.
I miss messengers. I don't like Discord.
Yeah, just everyone get back to
Back to the good old days because I'm old.
yeah. So yeah, go download Pester Chum.
Yeah, talk to everybody.
Yeah. I'm on there now too. I just made mine today. I'm excited for what's happened already, but so much is just like the first like couple of acts were like, this is what the game mechanics are like in the outer sense. And then now we're getting like into the game. And it's like, this is what the game and the game lore is like. This is what else is going on. But not quite giving you all the answers there.
Yeah, kind of getting like into the not so much the deep end probably yet, but just getting into it.
Yeah. And this also has 2 of the very few Jade Rose conversations we ever get. There might be like 1, maybe 2 more in the rest of the comic.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Does this not pass the Bechdel test?
I have a video I made on it, actually. I had a video and I had a mini series because I had my Gay Stuck series when I first started that was going through Homestuck, specifically trying to find the queer subtext and everything, or just the text.
Yeah.
And then I went through and basically did a quick Bechdel test.
Yeah.
It gets difficult sometimes because sometimes the conversations go on for a very long time, and I guess that's one whole scene. But sometimes you'll have like what seems like one whole scene's worth of conversations on like 7 different pages. It's a difficult thing to apply any sort of Bechdel test to. But yeah, I did actually go through and like notate how many times girl characters talk to each other without talking about a guy, and counted those up and said who you should ship together based off that information. But yeah, any other thoughts about the first half of Act 4?
No, I'm trying to keep good notes so that as we keep going, I can hopefully make more sense of things. I'm interested in seeing what happens next.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, awesome.
Cool.
In that case, the next episode should be out in like 2 weeks, assuming I'm sticking to the same schedule.
Mhm.
And I will see you all then.
Cool.
Thank you to Dami for editing the show and for our theme song, which you can find at Domino Thief on SoundCloud and in the show's notes. Also, thank you to our fakest fan tier member, Danny the Spoon Lord, for your support. If you'd like to get a shout out or just support the podcast, head on over to ko-fi.com/jaxyaks, link also found in the show notes, and sign up for as little as $1 a month. For all other links, head over to jaxyaks.com where you can always find the latest information. Thanks for listening!